Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching third part of What If Naruto Was Betrayed and Destroyed the Akatsuki. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Naruto recognized the three guests approaching him and was hesitant to fight them. He knew he could easily decimate all of them, but he had no desire to do so. The blonde Jinchuriki had no ill will toward them other than the fact that they represented the very place he was attempting to flee. No, I don't want to hurt them. Please, Kami, get them out of here. The great deity, however, appeared to be ignoring his prayer, as rapid footfalls reached his Jinchuriki-enhanced ears. They were coming, and they were coming fast. Great, Naruto hissed, pulling his mask back on with a fierce tug, quickly placing Nell onto his shoulder while sternly saying in his mask-distorted voice. Hang on, Nell-chan, we have to go right now. Nell was upset when she heard this because she wanted to play with Naruto and his new friend. Ah, do we really have to leave? Then Nell's Arankar senses picked up the energy signatures of three people approaching them, and her pout quickly transformed into a worried expression, and she obediently wrapped her arms around her adoptive father's neck and said, I'm ready, Naru-kun, but what about the Lady-chan? With a sharp intake of breath, Naruto realized that his adoptive daughter had a strong point. He couldn't just leave her here. What if the Akatsuki came back? What if the incoming trouble decided to take her back to the village for questioning? Naruto knew she would be defenseless in her current weakened condition, but if he took her with them, he would be putting her in even more danger for what he has done. Kit. They're less than a half-mile away and closing in fast. You'd better decide quickly what you're going to do. Damn it. Cursed Naruto quietly. The sky rumbled with thunder and a thick curtain of rain began to fall, as if Kami was trying to make Naruto's life more difficult. Yugito stifled a surprise gasp when Naruto wrapped his arm around her waist and jumped straight up into the thick branches and foliage of the tree they were standing under, setting his weary and injured fellow Jinchuriki down on a branch next to him and then checking to make sure Nell was secure. I need you two to be as quiet as possible, Nell-chan and Yugito. Nell simply nodded her head in acceptance, and Yugito did the same, but shivered in fear at the sound of Naruto's masked voice and silently chastised herself. It's just a mask. Stop being such a wuss. Hey! Nibby exclaimed indignantly in her head. Hinata had a grim determination on her face as she left the wave country, hoping to run into Naruto. It had taken her longer than she would have liked to get to the wave country after hearing the rumor that the hero of that country had returned there, but Naruto was gone by the time she arrived, and Tazuna had already passed the word around that anyone from Konoha inquiring about Naruto or his whereabouts would be turned away. Kami must have heard her prayer because a woman who had just entered the temple heard Hinata's heartfelt prayer and the anguished tone in which it was given. The woman walked over to console the young woman and after a few minutes of talking with each other, Tsunami realized this was not one of the people Naruto needed protection from and took Hinata back to her house. Where are you, my love, Naruto-kun? Her usual outfit had been replaced by a nondescript long black-sleeved shirt that fit her snugly and bore a kanji for hope on the back that Tsunami had sewn on for her, as well as long black hip-hugger pants and knee-high boots, which completed her plain outfit. Hinata also wore a black pack now worn over her left shoulder and her leaf headband was no longer visible. Hinata's once long indigo-colored hair had been cut to shoulder length and tied into a small ponytail with an orange-colored ribbon. On the lower part of her face, she wore a white mask that hid the defining features of it, but even with her face hidden except for her lavender eyes and the alluring curves of her body, Hinata still drew the stare of many a passerby, especially the men, such was her natural beauty. Hinata also had a katana blade strapped to her back, courtesy of a wave country mask maker she had questioned thanks to Tazuna's information. At first, the man was reluctant to share anything, but it's amazing what a fistful of money and the threat of a Juken fist to his face unless he spoke could do. After that, she had trekked on with the help of a tracking hound she had borrowed from the Inuzuka compound, and they were following the scent of Naruto they had detected from the mask shop. Makers soon, to Hinata's horror, she came across the scene of a battle, and Naruto's scent was mingled with the unmistakable odor of blood, as told to her by said dog. Naruto-kun must have run into an Anbu tracking squad, as most of them are set up with 2 males and a female on each squad, Hinata thought, before remembering that her sudden disappearance would also have Anbu after her, as she commented to herself. I'm hoping I can find Naru-kun before the trackers find me. Several hours later, Hinata came across a campsite with the rotting corpses of several men strewn about. It was a gruesome sight, but Hinata recognized the men as members of the infamous Crimson Bandits she had been hearing about during her travels. Naruto's scent was intermixed with all the blood, proving he had been there and most likely had been the one to dispatch these men. After a short time, Hinata and her dog came across another scene of death, this time of a single individual, and Hinata wasn't even sure if the man was human, aside from the fact that the man's head, which was adorned with some sort of skull-like mask on the left side of his face, was no longer attached to his body. The most peculiar feature of the corpse was that he bore 3 stumps instead of arms on the left side of his body and it saddened Hinata to know Naruto was capable of such killing, but it was not surprising. After all, before he left, Naruto had broken Hitaki Tsukumo, the legendary White Fang, and Hitaki Kakashi father's record for most kills in Anbu history, earning Naruto much praise and accolades throughout the village from both shinobi and civilians. Pushing her anxiety aside, Hinata asked her canine partner how long Naruto had been there and was relieved to learn that she was only a day behind, but the hound also informed her that Naruto was no longer traveling alone, as he could detect the scent of a female intermixed with his own. She was closing in on Naruto. But what if she did catch him? What would he say? What would he do? Who was this girl Naruto is now with? Hinata was terrified by the last question she had silently asked herself. Suddenly, and for some strange reason, she came to a halt, drawing a puzzled look from the hound as she gazed down at her left hand, her gaze narrowing to focus on her finger that bore the ring symbolizing her marriage to Kiba. This small gold ring had undoubtedly been one of the reasons Naruto had left the village. It was her fault. If only she could have told Naruto the truth 3 years ago, maybe she could have stood up to her father. But Hinata knew there was nothing she could do other than what she did back then and heaved a heavy sigh of regret and frustration. Once she caught up to Naruto, she could finally tell him the truth and hoped Naruto would understand her reasons for marrying Kiba. Then her thoughts turned to Kiba, and Hinata's face turned angry. She did not love him, and he knew it. She loved Naruto, and he knew it as well. Yet the Inuzuka heir, supposedly one of Naruto's closest friends as well as her own, did nothing to stop the arranged marriage. In fact, he had been as duplicitous as her father in the matter, and for that she hated him. It was entirely her fault. You stupid ring, I'll never see you again. I despise you. She hissed loudly, and in one swift motion, she yanked the ring from her finger and clutched it in the palm of her hand, her body quivering with rage. Then, spotting a nearby river, she heaved the ring with all her might into its briny depths. Then there was a crack of thunder, and the sky opened up in a rain, as if to hide the tears streaming down her face. Hinata knew that with this rain, her tracking hound would no longer be able to track Naruto's scent, so she now bid her tracking hound farewell, telling the dog that she could. You've been working hard and being extremely helpful. Hinata then turned on her heels and, full of determination, resumed her trek to follow the trail of her love, albeit alone from now on as she thought of Naruto. However, Hinata was not the only one who was currently thinking of the once happy and playful blonde. For back in Leaf Village, a certain pink-haired kunoichi was looking at a picture of Naruto and her with tears misting in her emerald eyes. Sakura had learned of Naruto's missing nin status when Shikamaru and Choji were brought into the hospital with the injuries they had suffered at his hands. She was shocked at the extent of Choji's injuries and couldn't believe that the Naruto she knew would do that to one. Sakura sat on her bed, gazing at the photo and reminiscing about happier times for him and her. The photo showed the two holding hands, Naruto smiling from ear to ear, as Sakura leaned in to kiss him on the cheek. Wait, what was I thinking? The best thing that has ever happened to me, and I threw him away like a fool. Sakura screamed at herself, cursing herself. That picture was taken before Sasuke was brought back to the Leaf, before she made the biggest mistake of her life by breaking Naruto's heart by choosing the Uchiha over him yet again. Worse, Sakura now realized that she had 3 wonderful years with Naruto before the blonde Jinchuriki brought Sasuke back to fulfill his promise to her. I instantly revert to my 12-year-old fangirl mode and forget everything I had with Naruto-kun because I thought Sasuke would make me the happiest woman alive. Baka. She yelled at herself as she looked down at the photograph. Sakura was more unhappy than ever, now that she had realized she wanted Naruto and had even broken off her engagement with Sasuke just for him, but she was too late, years too late. Sakura had never seen him sadder or more broken than the day she and Sasuke informed him of their engagement, and it hurt her even more when Naruto erupted with such venom and hatred at them when they pressed the issue with him. Sakura remembered she was also going to inform Naruto that she was breaking her engagement with Sasuke just to be with him, and she wondered how stupid she would have been if she had tried it. She had taken his heart and stomped on it, as she always had, and then, as her pink hair tickled her nose, Sakura felt something snap inside her, as she made her final decision. Sakura desired him, Naruto Uzumaki, and she would love no one else. Sakura dropped the photo and reached under her bed for her shinobi knapsack, her hands shaking from remorse, anger, and grief. Sakura tucked the photo into the faded bag and slung the pack over her shoulder as she thought to herself, heading to the kitchen to get food and supplies. I'm going after Naruto-kun. I'm going to show him how sorry I am and how much I truly love him, or I'm going to die trying. They've arrived, Naruto said quietly to his 2 companions. As Yugito focused her vision through the rain, she noticed a young man appear in a flash wearing green spandex and sporting bushy eyebrows looking around the area where Naruto's battle had taken place. Wiping the rain from his eyes and blinking, he saw nothing but the battered remains of an old factory and a lone tree nearby about 100 yards away. Have you seen Lee? The taijutsu master frowned as he continued to search but saw no one as he responded. I don't see anyone, Neji, but it's difficult for my youthful flames to see through this torrential downpour. Are you certain that this is the location where you discovered all of those powerful chakra signatures? A few moments later, 2 more people appeared. One was a girl with brunette hair tied into buns on the sides of her head, and the other was a male wearing the traditional robes of the Hyuga clan, who then activated his Byakugan and began scanning the area, piercing through everything around him as the colors faded to gray and his vision expanded to nearly 360 degrees. Neji paused for a second, stealing his gaze towards the lone tree a short distance away, and Naruto became nervous before the sound of a brick falling to the ground diverted Neji's attention and he shouted. I detect a strong chakra signature beneath that rubble over there, Lee. In an instant, all 3 members of Team Guy were removing the bricks and stones, only to discover that the source of that chakra signature was none other than Sasuke. As Lee and Tenten assisted the Uchiha to his feet, Neji inquired, his voice mocking. What brings you here, Uchiha? I'm here, Hyuga, because Lady Tsunade has given me orders to find and retrieve Naruto. He was just here a short time ago, but I was unable to apprehend him. So, the great Uchiha failed, Neji sneered. I failed Hyuga because I was caught off guard by a Jinchuriki woman Naruto had rescued from 2 Akatsuki members. Sasuke, what happened? Tenten inquired, hoping to ease the tension between him and Neji. I found Naruto just as he was fighting one of the Akatsuki. It was Suigetsu, a former subordinate on Team Hubby. Suigetsu and his partner Deidara were after the girl because she is Jinchuriki, according to the conversation during the fight. They were about to arrest her when Naruto intervened and saved her. He easily dispatched Suigetsu and was about to pursue Deidara when the Dobi sensed my chakra and summoned me. What happened next? At first, I just tried to talk him into returning to the village and warned him about the consequences if he didn't. But Naruto is so filled with rage and pain about Konoha and its people that he refuses to listen and declares that he is done with the Leaf Village now and forever. After realizing that nothing I said would change his mind, I prepared to fight the Dobi, but was sucker punched by the girl, and he fled. It's a shame that Naruto's youthful flames have dimmed over the years. You can thank the Hyuga's slut cousin for marrying the Inuzuka mutt and transforming Naruto into the man he is now, Lee. If her love could so easily shift from him to Kiba, the Dobi should be grateful he didn't marry the tramp. If Naruto had stayed with her, she would only have two-timed him behind his back. Before Sasuke could finish his sentence, a fist landed on his nose, breaking it and dropping the Uchiha to the ground. Before Sasuke could recover, a hand firmly gripped the front of his Anbu vest, pulling him up to look directly into Neji's enraged face, who had his fist cocked back, ready to deliver another strike, as he spat malevolently at him. You conceited Uchiha pig. To blame Lady Hinata solely for Naruto becoming the man he is now, when you and that pink-haired bitch of yours had just as much to do with causing Naruto pain, is offensive. Get your hands off of me, Hyuga. Naruto has not been harmed by Sakura or me. Really, Uchiha, tell me what you and your whore did to him. Neji. Tenten said sternly, stopping the young Hyuga before adding. Remember what Naruto asked and to which you agreed. After a few intense seconds, Neji let go of Sasuke with frustration and disgust before nodding to Tenten in understanding. Hearing Sasuke lay complete blame on Hinata for what had happened to Naruto so infuriated him that he hadn't even bothered to activate his Byakugan or deliver a Juken strike. Sasuke had merely received a straight blow to the face powered by nothing more than his rage and contempt for TH. The marriage of Lady Hinata to the mongrel was a disturbing event for all of us, none more so than Hinata herself. I can't tell you why she did it, Uchiha, because I don't know. However, I suspect that there is a reason why she did that none of us are aware of. It has nothing to do with her preference for Kiba over Naruto. In fact, I can assure you that Lady Hinata has never stopped loving Naruto and has suffered greatly as a result over the last 3 years. Naruto grimaced in pain as he heard Neji's words through his Kyuubi-enhanced hearing, but he already knew the truth because he had given Hinata the opportunity to explain why she was marrying Kiba. Unfortunately, she never did. As Neji's words sank into Sasuke's mind, he was about to ask why the Hyuga was blaming him and Sakura, but a messenger falcon streaked down from the sky and landed on Lee's shoulder, where Tenten quickly unfurled the message attached to the bird's leg and read it. Does it say Tenten? Lady Tsunade has called us back from our search for Naruto. We must immediately report back to the Leaf Village for further instructions. Very well, considering we blew our chance to capture Naruto in the first place. We'll spend the night in that small town a few miles back to get out of the rain before heading back to the Leaf Village. Come Tenten, Lee, I want to get out of this never-ending downpour as soon as possible, Neji said authoritatively to his two teammates. The Kunoichi paused and turned around to ask as Lee and Tenten followed behind Neji. Does Sasuke wish to accompany us and get us out of the rain? No, I have someone I need to see, and they are about 2 days away. Tenten replied, suit yourself, as she watched Sasuke leap away before sprinting to catch up with her teammates. Naruto breathed a sigh of relief as he removed his mask and jumped down to the ground, Nell securely on his shoulder, once the sound of Team Guy's voices had faded. They were safe. For the time being. Yugito jumped down from the tree and fell to one knee as she landed, indicating that she was still very weak from her battle with the Akatsuki. Looking up, doe brown eyes met sapphire blue, and in that instant she looked down, as he extended his hand to her, whilst Nell stared at Yugito with piqued curiosity. Who were those people? I'm short on time, so I'll get this done quickly. Those guys were Anbu from the Hidden Leaf Village, and they were looking for me because I was a missing nin from there. I could leave you here now. As he mentally commended her for that feat, Naruto saw panic flash through Yugito's eyes before it vanished and was forced down by her. She has good emotional control. However, that would make you easy prey for the Akatsuki, who, by the way, attacked you. I know everything about the Akatsuki. I've been their prisoner for the last 8 years, Yugito spit angrily. If she's been a captive of the Akatsuki, perhaps she'll be of use to us. Take her along, Kit, and get whatever information you can from her. Plus, once she's healed, she could be a powerful ally because she holds the Nibi. And even you have to admit she's not bad to look at either. Kyuubi voiced out within Naruto's mind. Knock it off, you filthy fox. Your other points are valid, but I'm not going to invite her just to get laid. You should, Kit. You've been living like a monk for the last 2 years since that blonde bitch dumped you, and I'm tired of it. I want to see some action. Enough, I'm not going to have this conversation with you right now. Naruto retorted with righteous rage before returning his attention to Yugito. Well, since you know about the Akatsuki and what they do, as a fellow Jinchuriki, I wouldn't want to leave you fighting them on your own. Naruto then took a step forward, placing one hand on her shoulder and the other under her arms to support her. Yugito's face flushed red at this, but it was only for a few seconds and was gone before he realized it. Naruto was already too preoccupied with her eyes. He'd been staring into those deep brown pools the entire time, and her calm yet slightly nervous gaze had hypnotized him. As shock and surprise set in, Naruto's next words finally got her mind working again. Would you like to join us? Yugito's eyes widened slightly, but after seeing how he had dispatched Suigetsu with less than half his true strength. Inside her mind, the voice of the Nibi, the two-tailed cat demon, purred. That cat's tone was laced with curiosity, as all felines were infamous for. That, and what appeared to be desire? I believe we would be safe with this one, kitten. Even though I sense he is troubled and harboring a lot of pain and anger, he also appears to be of pure heart, and if he is indeed the Kyuubi's vessel, then perhaps we could. Nibi's thoughts came to a halt as Yugito protested with all her might. Whoa, Miss Pervert. Don't get any ideas, I don't even know who he is. That's easily solved, and you know what I mean, Nibi purred seductively. The sound of Naruto's voice cut Yugito and Nibi off in their conversation. How about my offer, are you interested? After all, there is safety in numbers. Okay, if I say yes, I just have one condition, Yugito replied before bringing her face dangerously close to his, and Naruto blushed slightly as she spoke with a hint of desire in her voice. Will you treat me properly, with respect? Of course, I will treat you with dignity. Thank you very much, Naruto-sama. Again with the sama, oh well, like I said, we'll work on it, Naruto reflected before speaking. Alright, let's go. I have a. When the blonde Jinchuriki heard the screeching sound of the flare, it was long before its ruby-red light lit up the sky for miles around, casting a red curtain of light around everything nearby. He stared at it for a moment, then slowly formed a predatory grin on his face, and a second later, he was running towards it, Yugito calling out to him as she struggled to keep up. "Whither are we going? I need an army." Naruto's tone was filled with arrogant confidence as he walked through the trees, all the while Nell chatted in his ear. "Naru-kun, are you going to live with the cat lady from now on?" "Hello, Nell-chan, she'll be joining us for a while." "Yay, maybe she can be that wife Chan you're looking for." The surprised squawks of the two Jinchuriki could be heard for miles around. "Nani?" The two Jinchuriki dug their feet into the next tree branch, soaring high above the treetops with massive force. Naruto then noticed the clearing ahead, over which the red flare appeared to be hovering. Underneath it, in its red glare, was a man, the bandit Naruto had allowed to live in order to contact the bandits' leader. The man was alone and shivering inside a rain-protected tent. "It appears that my message was delivered after all," Naruto thought. Even though he didn't see Yugito, he knew she was looking at the clearing and the man inside the tent. Yugito, for her part, cast a quick glance at Naruto and noticed a sly grin on his face. A shiver ran down her spine and then throughout her entire body as she saw his stoic, yet strong and handsome face. And what perplexed her was, it wasn't always a bad shiver. She liked the fierce and savage expression on his face. It meant he was in complete control of himself, took no orders from anyone, and would do whatever the hell he wanted. That was something she desired in a man. Someone who was aggressive, passionate, and didn't mind getting their hands dirty. Nibby noticed it as well, her tone amused, as she noticed the light blush on her vessel's face. "Oh, are you having feelings for him, kitten?" Yugito's blush deepened for a moment before she hissed silently at her demon. "You stupid cat, shut up. Don't hold it against me. I just call them as I see them." She cast another quick glance at him before she could feel the sensation of her penetrating eyes on him. "I'm not sure what you're talking about." Nell, on the other hand, had noticed Yugito's strange glances towards Naruto. And, as a curious child, she asked her adoptive father a question. "Why does the cat lady keep staring at you, Naru-kun?" Naruto stammered in response, taken aback by the question. "I don't know, Nell-chan. I had no idea she was there." This response did nothing to quell Nell's curiosity about the situation, as her eyes widened to the size of saucer plates and she made a startled declaration. "Oh, I know what it is. Hey, cat lady, are you still considering becoming Naru-nu-kun's wife Chan?" For the second time that night, the two Jinchuriki let out a surprise squawk that could be heard for miles around. Nani? Daisuke, the man Naruto had threatened with death, looked up in the clearing as he thought he heard a startled shout and thought to himself. What was it? Daisuke was dressed in a dark muscle shirt that complemented his muscular frame, as well as long baggy pants that were already soaked through with rain. Strapped to his back was a massive shuriken, easily twice the size of the one Mizuki had worn, and it was clear that only he, with his titanic strength, could wield such a weapon. But, strength or no, he was still nervous as he peeled back a strand of brown hair, long and unruly like Kiba's hairstyle, which was now wet and soggy, as he pulled the hair away from his black eyes and peered around in the rain for any sign of the missing nin. What if he doesn't show up? Leader Sama would consider himself to have failed, and he had no desire to fail. He had to appear. His life depended on the presence of this, unimaginably, powerful nin, which he had described to his boss, who had given him the benefit of the doubt and allowed him to return out here to extend an invitation to meet him. Was it a she or a he? No one had ever seen the leader's face, nor did they know whether she or he was a man. She was always dressed in a dark robe and wore a face mask that distorted her voice, further concealing the identity of the powerful leader of the mighty gang known only as the Crimson Blades. But when he mentioned Naruto Uzumaki's name, he noticed a noticeable difference in leader's demeanor. "I'd like you to bring him to me. I'd like to meet him." The leader's exact words, and everyone in the Crimson Blades knew that she did not tolerate failure. So, for some reason, he decided to look up into the sky, and as he did so, he noticed two black shapes in the air, one of which was carrying a very familiar sword strapped to his back. Is that him? Yes, something in his gut told him. Even from this distance, you couldn't miss the dark energy emanating from him, chilling his blood and turning his tan skin pale. It is. He yelped in surprise, his sandals slipping in the mud and bringing him to his knees. The two specks of black rocketed down to earth as soon as he moved, one of them landing right where he had been only seconds before, shaking the ground with the impact. As Naruto stood to his feet, his mask was now on, making him a truly terrifying sight to behold. Daisuke could tell by the mask, despite the rain clouding his vision. He was the one. As he rose to his feet and said, Naruto's yellow-black eyes bored deep into Daisuke's startled black. "It's a good thing you did as you were told. I knew you were smarter than you appeared. Did you arrange for a meeting between your boss and me?" "Hi Naruto-sama, my boss wishes to meet with you and has ordered me to accompany you to our encampment," Daisuke replied humbly before noticing Nell and Yugito and asking. "Can you tell me who the brat and the babe are?" A second later, a hand was wrapped around Daisuke's throat, and he felt his large frame effortlessly lifted into the air as Naruto growled. "The brat and the babe are with me, and if I ever hear you call them that again, it will be the last words you ever say." My apologies, Naruto-sama," Daisuke stammered, his voice choking. After a brief moment, Naruto let go of Daisuke, who collapsed to the ground in a heap. Daisuke rubbed his throat when he noticed Nell sticking her tongue out at him and giving the bandit a raspberry, while Yugito glared menacingly at him. Daisuke gulped nervously, sensing a great power emanating from the statuesque blonde. The Crimson Blade bandit made a mental note to never offend this woman again. Naruto's metallic echo of a voice cut through the air once more at that point. "So, when are we going to see your leader? What is your name?" "My name is Daisuke Naruto-sama, and we will meet with the leader tomorrow, as soon as the escort squad arrives to transport us to him." "That's fine with me. My companions and I are tired and could use a good night's sleep, and it'll be nice to get out of this cursed rain for a while." "Sorry, Naruto-sama, but I didn't realize you'd be traveling with others since the last time I saw you. I'm afraid the tent I brought can only accommodate 2 people." "That's fine. Nell-chan is small and can sleep between Yugito-chan and myself." Yugito's cheeks flushed slightly as she heard the suffix "chan" added to her name. But, Naruto-sama, where will I sleep?" Daisuke inquired. Naruto's eyes flashed from yellow to black to crimson red as he declared emphatically. "You won't need to sleep because you'll be keeping watch all night." "Do you have a problem with this, Daisuke?" "And no, Naruto-sama, I don't have a problem with that," Daisuke stuttered, his knees weak from the pressure of Naruto's killing intent. The Crimson Blade bandit then went over to a tree to seek shelter from the rain, while Naruto and his companions went inside the tent for a well-deserved rest. It was late in the morning, and the rain had finally stopped, as Naruto and the girls finished breakfast, when the blonde missing nin sensed several chakra signatures approaching. Motioning to Yugito to be on alert and keep an eye on Nell, he waited patiently to see who was coming. "Is this demon of yours here yet, Daisuke?" "He's arrived, Sakura." A tall man with long red hair and dressed in a formal red kimono emerged from the forest a moment later, his arms hidden in the folds of his robe and crossed over his chest, a look of disdain marring his features as he beheld the threesome. "Is this your demon?" He appears to be any other man, and not a particularly strong one. A few of the men around Sakura snickered at that remark before Daisuke shot him a glare, irritated by his comrade's perpetual arrogance. "Sakura, you should avoid making him angry. He annihilated my squad in less than a minute. I'm sure he'd do the same thing to you in half the time." Naruto silently mused as he arched his blonde brow. It appears that there is some bad blood between these two. The robed man known only as Sakura returned his gaze to the motley crew, his dark eyes now fixed on Yugito and Nell, who stuck out her tongue at him. Who are these two? Daisuke didn't say anything about them. Naruto finally spoke, his voice dark and ominous as he put on his mask, sending a nervous shudder through Daisuke, who had witnessed this rogue nin's terrifying power firsthand. "They're on my side. I only recently met them after dealing with your little band of bandits." Naruto's tone was devoid of any hint of guilt, but Sakura was unfazed. "And what makes you think you're qualified to join the Crimson Blades? You can't possibly believe that senseless slaughter will get you anywhere." Yugito rolled her eyes as Naruto reached for his blade's hilt, his right hand clenching and unclenching. "Great, that idiot is going to irritate him and start a fight," the Nibi vessel reasoned. But, as Naruto gripped the handle, he paused, and his gaze returned to Daisuke's, ignoring Sakura's rant. "What did your boss have to say?" Daisuke reached into the waterproof pouch he kept at his side, his hand trembling slightly from fear and worry as he opened the pouch and groped around inside for something. "Leader Sama has expressed interest in you and wishes to meet you in person." "Is that my two comrades included?" "I'm not going to abandon them." Daisuke paused, then shrugged his shoulders, a sneer directed at Sakura. I don't see why they couldn't come along." Sakura frowned and spoke again in a sneering tone. "Wait a minute, I never authorized you to." Sakura was suddenly suffocated as Naruto drew his sword and thrust the large blade into the pale man's throat, his eyes gleaming with murderous intent. "I'm tired of you, fool, so keep quiet unless you want to lose your head." Sakura became even paler, as white as a ghost. "You would never dare. Try me." Before adding, Naruto hissed venomously. "I've recently dared to do a lot of things. Another wouldn't hurt." The gathered thugs murmured as they looked from Naruto to Sakura, as no one had ever done to Sakura before. Naruto nodded to Daisuke as the muscular bandit found what he was looking for, a brown piece of parchment. "Give it to me," Naruto said sternly. Daisuke did so, tossing the wrapped box to Naruto, only for Nell to grab it out of midair and hand it to her adoptive father, who still held the blade to Sakura's throat with murderous intent in the robed man's eyes. "If you murder me, Leader Sama will not let you." Sakura couldn't finish his sentence as Naruto snarled. Naruto swung the blade to the left and whipped it around, leaving the man with a nasty gash that ran from his chin to his shoulder blade. It immediately began to bleed, and the man, horrified, placed both hands over it in a futile attempt to stop the bleeding. Naruto hissed as he sheathed his weapon and examined the contents of the package he had been given. Several of the men rushed forward to tend to the pompous fool's wounds, who was now writhing in agony, his body convulsing on the ground wildly as he twisted in pain. "Your arrogance will now serve as a constant reminder, and if you survive, that scar will haunt you for the rest of your days." Turning to Daisuke, he noticed the Crimson Bandit's smirk at Sakura and mentally noted that he should consider recruiting this one. "Let's go. I don't have all day to waste with these idiots. I have an errand to run before meeting with your boss." "You may accompany me if you wish, Daisuke-san." But before they could even begin to set out, it was present. He hissed in surprise when he suddenly felt a very familiar chakra signature, just as he heard her footsteps and thought, "How can it be? Hinata? What on earth is she doing here?" The Hyuga girl then made her grand entrance, sword drawn and ready, bursting out of the trees. But the moment she saw him, mask and all, it slipped from her fingers and clattered onto the muddy ground. Her eyes widened with recognition, and she pulled down the mask she was wearing, revealing her lovely alabaster face as she spoke, tears welling in her soft lavender-colored eyes. "Is that you, Naruto-kun?" Time seemed to slow down as Naruto turned to face Hinata, his yellow eyes gleaming from behind his mask. Hinata's eyes widened as she recognized him, her sword clattering to the ground with a clang. The arrival of the indigo-haired beauty caused a murmur among the Crimson Blades, who took a brief break from tending to Sakari's wound to gaze at the beautiful woman standing before them. "Wait, who's the babe?" This seemed to be the general consensus among the bandits. Daisuke was astounded by the curvaceous beauty in front of him, despite the fact that she was ignoring him and everyone else except the blonde Jinchuriki. Daisuke noticed her pleading and loving expression on Naruto, but frowned as he saw no reaction from the rogue nin and thought to himself, "Does he know who she is? Is she going to join as well? She certainly knows him, judging by the way she's giving him those baby doll eyes." Then Sakari was remembered, and Daisuke ordered his enchanted men to return to work, patching up the rather nasty gash Naruto had dealt the unfortunate man, who was now unconscious from blood loss. "Daisuke, I need some privacy," Naruto said sternly. "As you wish, Naruto-sama, hurry up and move you cretins. Leader-sama will not tolerate an unnecessary death, even if it is of a fool like Sakari." They groaned and moved Sakari off into the distance, ignoring the robed man's shriek of pain in the process. As one man threaded a needle through the bleeding wound and began stitching it shut, threading the pointed tip in and out with slow and careful precision. Ow. www. But Hinata paid no attention to the departing gruff man, the bandits, or the wailing Sakari as she pulled down her own mask, revealing her beautiful angelic face. An angel who saw her first true love in a new light, a light of pure joy at discovering he was alive and unharmed. "Is that you, Naruto-kun?" Hinata inquired, her soft and gentle voice sending shivers down his spine as he resisted the urge to run to her, take her in his arms, and hold her tight. He was forcing it down with sheer willpower, barely holding himself in place as his body shuddered. What exactly is she doing here? She can't possibly be here. Not right now. Were the thoughts racing through Naruto's mind as he desperately tried to maintain his calm facade and demeanor, but secretly thankful for the mask that concealed the anguish on his face. Hinata could have seen the uncertainty in his eyes if his face hadn't been obscured. She might have reacted by hugging or kissing him, as she had done many times before to assuage his doubts and fears. Naruto knew that if Hinata did that, he would crumble, and showing such emotions would ruin his plans, which he could not allow. Meanwhile, Yugito was wary of the strange woman. The former Cloud Kunoichi recognized the girl's features instantly and her brown eyes filled with suspicion. However, Nell chose that moment to speak, as she looked at Hinata with curiosity, before she could act or say anything. "How did you meet Naru-kun?" Hinata's face lit up as she heard confirmation that she had indeed found Naruto, but she could still feel the thick tension in the air. "So it's you, Naruto-kun," exclaimed Hinata as she took a step forward. Unfortunately, the response from the man she loved was not what she had hoped for, as she found herself on the receiving end of Naruto's blade. Its lethal point was less than an inch away from Hinata's face, causing her to stiffen and tilt her head back slightly, followed by a hesitant step backwards. Naruto had drawn his weapon at an inhumanely fast rate, signaling to Hinata that he saw her as an enemy. "You're a long way from home, Inuzuka-san. What are you doing out here?" Naruto hissed venomously, glaring at her before adding a spiteful tone of voice. "Are you here to bring me back? Are you here to fight me, like everyone else? Perhaps you thought that because of our history, I would meekly follow you back to the village, or perhaps into an ambush set up by the Anbu, or perhaps your loving husband." A chill ran up Hinata's spine as she heard how he addressed her and the words he said, and a rush of guilt and pain rushed through her body. Hinata's heart was broken when Naruto mentioned Kiba and glared at her through his mask. The former Hyuga heiress missed Naruto's way of looking at her. Naruto's way of speaking softly to her when she was sad or lonely. Naruto's constant support and comfort for her. Hinata felt sick to her stomach when she realized her marriage to Kiba had permanently altered Naruto. She'd always assumed Naruto, or at least the Naruto she knew, would forgive her. But this new Naruto she had helped to create was unique. He wasn't forgiving, warm, comforting, or reassuring. That meant she'd long since lost Naruto. That meant Naruto had been over her for 3 years and had been very angry and bitter about his feelings for her, while she had never wavered in her feelings for him during that time. Her face was sad as she stared down his blade, her soft lavender eyes gently peering into his, as if silently apologizing for hurting him before finally speaking in a voice filled with guilt and sorrow. "If you're happy away from the village, I'm happy. I'd never fight you or betray you by leading you into a trap." Naruto's hand trembled slightly in response to Hinata's mournful tone, and his blade trembled as well, causing it to lower an inch as his resolve began to waver. An image of Hinata's wedding day flashed through his mind, and his resolve quickly hardened again, and he held his Zanbaku firm, his soulless eyes boring into her soft and caring ones as he angrily spat with vicious sarcasm. "Nice to know one betrayal is all you can inflict on me, Inuzuka-san. If you're not here to lead me back to Konoha like a puppy on a leash held by you, then why are you here?" Yugito spoke now, her tone calm but concealing her anger and confusion as she muttered under her breath. "Do you recognize her?" Her fellow Jinchuriki nodded, never taking his gaze away from the Hyuga as he spoke, his voice laced with venom. "Hi, I know her. We talked about getting married once, but that was before she decided to move up the social and political ladder of the Leaf Village and marry the heir to one of Konoha's great clans." Hinata looked down at the ground in shame, while Yugito frowned and, becoming more vocal, asked in enraged curiosity. "Why did you leave your village in the first place, and was she a factor?" When he spoke, the pain was evident in his voice, which was dark and deep like the night. "Hello, she's a part of it, but she's not all of it. I've been betrayed 3 times by people I loved and who professed to love me back, but they were all lies, and what's worse, Naruto paused to regain control of his emotions, clenching his free hand into a fist and adding in a shaky tone of voice. "Worse. I let each betrayal happen like the fool I was, that's all you need to know." Yugito stifled a sigh as she looked at him, her normally hard and arrogant eyes now filled with sadness and loneliness. Yugito recognized that look all too well and turned her head to hate and anger Hinata. Meanwhile, Nell had looked up at her adoptive father, noticing and feeling his sadness before leaping up onto his shoulders and hugging Naruto's head to her body. She squeezed his hand gently and spoke softly in a childlike innocence that only he could hear. "You're not alone, Naru-kun. Nell has arrived as well." Naruto was speechless and didn't know what to say. He barely knew this child, and now she's being nice to him. Her simple words and kind gesture rendered him speechless. Hinata sensed Yugito's murderous intent and finally noticed the statuesque Jinchuriki, and as soon as she saw the blonde, clad in her torn and ruined outfit, she assumed the worst. Naruto had already found a suitable partner. "Nani? Who is he? Is she? Hinata dared not to consider the rest. Naruto was snatched away from her by this stunning blonde? The thought was unbearable. However, as much as Hinata tried to push these thoughts away, Yugito's appearance did little to help. The former Cloud Kunoichi's outfit was in shambles. The form-fitting clothing had been torn and shredded at the waist, exposing her tanned stomach, exposing her curves, and emphasizing her waist's dip. The lower portion of it fit snugly against her back, but as it reached her knees, it appeared that the fabric's legs had been torn away by a ragged edge. Her shirt was mostly intact, but the fabric clung tightly to her well-endowed chest, which could almost rival Hinata's ample bosom. Overall, she appeared to be an Amazon, fresh from the rainforest, a goddess on earth, and she was with her Naruto-kun. As she imagined the two of them together, in all sorts of activities, a tick mark appeared on her head, and she released her own substantial killing intent onto Yugito. Yugshio seemed to realize this as well, and with a hmmmph of disdain, her brown eyes bored into Hinata's pale lavender, who put her hands on her hips, as did Yugito, the two kunoichi staring each other down with fierce intent. Hinata could see their scorn for her as the Jinchuriki shot her the mother of all death stares. The young Hyuga girl returned her own lethal glare at the Nibi container. Just as Yugito was about to approach Hinata, she was cut off by Naruto's glare, which rendered her speechless at the sight of his yellow-black gaze. Wait a minute before you pass judgment. I still have questions for her. Looking back at Hinata, Naruto reached up and removed his mask, allowing Hinata to see the face she adored. Naruto lowered his blade and tossed it into the air with a flick of his wrist. With a loud clink, he twisted his head to the right, allowing his weapon to slide into the sheath he wore on his back. Nell was staring at Hinata, curious to see how she affected Naruto, when her eyes lit up and she asked her adoptive father. Is the lady with the pretty eyes going to be your wife Chan, Naru-kun? Hinata's face turned beet red, just like she used to, while Naruto guffawed in surprise for the second time his energetic adoptive daughter had said such a thing. Wife Chan? Hinata sputtered, as the long-held dream of becoming Naruto's wife raced through her mind once more. Nell had inadvertently brought up one of Hinata's fondest wishes, and she let out a small sigh of relief. The Hyuga girl turned around and looked lovingly at Naruto. Unfortunately for her, the look he gave her was cold and unyielding before he noticed her right hand and the lack of something that should have been there. Where's your ring? His words were murmured, but Hinata heard them and her eyes widened as she remembered what she'd done to the small gold band. Of course, how could he have missed that? Hinata thought to herself before realizing this was an opportunity to inform him of her intentions, the reasons for leaving her home, to pursue him, and to finally explain everything to Naruto once and for all. Taking a step forward, then another, she steadied her pace and continued striding across the muddy terrain until she was less than a foot away from him, her eyes gazing deep into his as she looked up at him. I threw it away. Hinata declared sternly without hesitation, knowing that she had now passed the point of no return. Now she had to keep going, lest Yugito do something or she lose her resolve. You did what? Surprised Naruto, as Yugito looked warily at Hinata. Hinata shifted her gaze away from his for a moment before speaking, a light pink flush on her cheeks as she spoke, softly at first, then with ever-increasing resolve, every word, every syllable increasing her confidence tenfold, as her tone, ever kind and loving, grew firm, before she finally looked back at him, to find him patiently listening. I want you, Naruto-kun, and only you. I want to wear your wedding band, not Kiba's. When Hinata mentions her teammate, Naruto bristles and looks away, but she calls out his name, drawing his cold gaze back to her. Listen, Naruto-kun. I threw it away. I threw Kiba away. I left the village to find you because I want to be with you. Hinata took a deep breath and said the words she never thought she'd be able to say again, at least not to his face. The words were strong and shouted directly into his face, stunning him with their power. "Oh, Naruto-kun, I adore you." Naruto's face softened and he let out a tired sigh as he placed his right hand on her right cheek, causing her to nuzzle her face into his open palm before pulling his hand away and saying, "You don't get to say that to me, Hinata, not after what you did 3 years ago. You destroyed me. Why should I even believe you? I watched you give your hand in marriage to Kiba and the promise of a life with you, something I valued just as much as the title of Hokage. What did you think? That a bullshit declaration of love from you and I would fall to my knees in gratitude and we could pick up where we left off 3 years ago? It's bullshit, Naruto-kun. I love you, I always have, even during my marriage with you, and I will always love you no matter what," Hinata said softly, tears streaming down her face. Naruto's heart was tugged by the sadness in Hinata's voice and the tears she shed, and he did not like the feeling, as he angrily responded. "Even if that's true, Hinata, why did you agree to marry Kiba in the first place if you've always loved me and still do?" "I did it to save my sister and Konohamaru," Hinata exclaimed through her tears. What?" Naruto asked, perplexed. Hinata exhaled a heavy sigh to try to calm herself before speaking again, looking up at Naruto's perplexed expression. "I married Kiba to save Hanabi and Konohamaru, Naruto-kun. When my father and Kiba first approached me with the arranged marriage, I vehemently refused. Even when my father threatened to brand me with the caged bird seal unless I agreed, I still told them no and informed them I would marry you and only you. This enraged both my father and Kiba greatly, my father because Kiba had paid him." Naruto literally collapsed onto the ground in shock after hearing what Hinata had said before she continued. "If you remember, Naruto-kun, Hanabi and Konohamaru had fallen in love at the time and promised to marry when they reached legal age. I couldn't let my father and Kiba ruin their happiness, so I relented and agreed to the arranged marriage, even though I knew that saving Hanabi's happiness would mean destroying my own. Why, Hinata, why didn't you tell me about this? I could have helped, we could have done something," Naruto enragedly demanded. "What could we have done, Naruto-kun? If Lady Tsunade couldn't help me, then there was nothing you could have done. I couldn't tell you the truth back then because my father and Kiba said if I did, they would follow through on the arranged marriage with Hanabi, and they also said if you found out the truth, they would make sure to hurt you. We could have run away together like I wanted," Naruto replied. "And leave behind my sister, who is married to Kiba and branded, as well as Konohamaru, who is heartbroken and alone. I know you love little Kono like a brother. Tell me, Naruto-kun, could you really have done that to him?" Naruto still felt and remembered the pain he felt 3 years ago when he lost Hinata, and as much as he hated to admit it, he wouldn't wish that kind of pain on an enemy, let alone someone he cared about. However, before he could think any further, he heard Hinata say something. "Hanabi and Konohamaru married 2 weeks ago. It was a wonderful wedding, and they are both very happy. The only thing that kept the wedding from being perfect, they said, was that you weren't there to attend it, Naruto-kun." Naruto simply sat on the ground, motionless, with a stern yet reflective expression on his face. After a few minutes, Hinata couldn't stand the silence any longer and said, "Please, Naruto-kun, tell me you understand why I did what I had to do to save Hanabi and Konohamaru." Naruto finally looked up and stated, exhaling a mournful sigh. "I understand, Hinata, but you should have trusted me and told me 3 years ago what Kiba and her father were doing. It wasn't about trusting you. I would trust you with my life, Naruto-kun. It was about not wanting to see you hurt by my father or Kiba, don't you understand?" "I understand, but you don't." Not telling me what was going on and then watching you get married hurt more than any physical pain your father or Kiba could have ever inflicted on me. You were my angel, the one who saved me and showed me what true love was like after my foolish time with Sakura. Losing you nearly destroyed my heart, Hinata, and what was left of it, Ino finally killed a year later. I'm sorry. I know I hurt you terribly, but I thought I was doing the only thing I could to protect the people I care about from being hurt. I never stopped loving you, Naruto-kun. Even during my marriage, my thoughts were unfaithful, because I only wanted you. If you no longer love me, or even hate me, I understand, but I will always love you, Naruto-kun, and that will never change. A shroud of silence seemed to envelop Naruto and Hinata. Naruto finally exclaimed in frustration after a few minutes. I'm not sure what you want me to say, Hinata. I don't hate you, I could never hate you, but I don't know if I still love you? I once thought I did, but after Sakura, you, and Ino, I realized I never knew. After that, I decided emotions like love only caused me great pain, so for the last 2 years I've made it a point to shut down foolish emotions like trust, happiness, and love. You're wrong, Naruto-kun. I know the man I've always loved is still inside of you, but I'm not going to try to make you love me. I don't have a home to return to, but I'm not going to stay if all I cause you now is pain. Hinata wiped her tears away before walking over to retrieve her mask, sword, and supplies, as Naruto looked on with concern and doubt. The Kyuubi no Yuko then decided to speak his mind on the matter. So, kid, what are you going to do? Just let her go. Be quiet, Fox. It's for the best. For the best, you say? Well, let me refresh your memory of what your former vixen has done. She's deserted her home, family, and husband just to find you, which means she's now a fugitive with not only her 2 clans after her, but also Hunter from Nin's village trying to track her down? How should I proceed? Naruto thought, perplexed, as the fox demon gave him pause to consider what he had said. The Kyuubi no Yuko found his vessel's musings amusing at first, but they quickly became tedious and irritated the demon fox. As a result, he took it upon himself to flash various images throughout Naruto's mind. One image depicted Hinata being tried for treason by the Konoha Council. Another image was of Hinata being dragged back before her father and Kiba, beaten and chained. Finally, an image of a naked Hinata strapped to a table in Kumogakure with a line of Kumo shinobi approaching her. This final image caused some red chakra to flare off his body, shocking everyone as he growled in rage. Kyuubi. Oh, shut up and take the vixen with you and be done with it. You aren't going to leave her alone with all of those dangers out there, and you know it. Kyuubi grumbled angrily. Hinata, it's too dangerous for you to be out here on your own. I'm not promising anything about what will happen between you and me, but you're welcome to accompany us, Naruto said. Hinata's response was immediate, and before Naruto could blink, he was engulfed in a fierce hug. Hinata realized what she had done after a moment and released him almost as quickly as she had grabbed him and stammered. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, I shouldn't have done that, but I'd love to accompany you. It's okay, Hinata, but you remember what I said about no promises, Naruto replied, taken aback by Hinata's embrace. Hi, I understand, but just so you know, I believe you still have the capacity to love and be loved. You just need to find it in yourself to let love back into your life, and if you'll let me, I'd like to be the one to help you find that love, Naruto-kun. Her response was so enthusiastic that he smiled for the first time in months when he looked down at her. And it made Hinata's heart skip a beat because he hadn't smiled in over 2 years, and that one brief grin gave Hinata hope that her Naruto-kun wasn't all bad. Yada, I have another wife Chan to play with. Nell exclaimed joyfully, clapping her hands before sprinting up to Hinata and leaping into the Hyuga woman's arms for a hug. During this time, Yugito cast a sidelong glance at Naruto and inquired bitterly. Are you certain this is a good idea? I'm not sure, but she's coming with us, no questions asked. Naruto hissed through his teeth, his blue eyes locked on her brown. Whatever. Yugito snorted, looking away, clearly dissatisfied with the addition of Hinata to their group. Ignoring Yugito's attitude for the time being, Naruto called Daisuke over and inquired. Would you mind following me on this errand of mine before you take me to see your boss? Daisuke rolled his massive shoulders in response, seeing the look of adventure in the eyes of his potential comrade. Sure. I could use some fresh air, and it's preferable to listening to Sakura rant about what you did to him. Daisuke waved his large hand in farewell to the now fully treated Sakura and laughed when he saw the angry look on Sakura's face before saying, Don't bother waiting up. I'll see you back at base. Then he followed Naruto and the others. Also, undisclosed location. I'd like to see your master, Sasuke said to the servant who had opened the door for him. Master Byakuya left strict orders not to be disturbed, so go. Tell your master that I am Sasuke Uchiha of the Uchiha clan from the Land of Fire, and I am seeking his audience through the blood pact the Kuchiki clan and the Uchiha clan made years ago. The servant shut the door, and Sasuke waited patiently. The servant returned a few minutes later, and Sasuke was led into the castle and led to a large hall, where he was told to wait. A man with long onyx-colored hair and intricate white headpieces called Kenseiken that symbolized his nobility as the head of the Kuchiki family, one on top of his head and another on the right side, entered the room moments later. Sasuke noticed that the man had the appearance and demeanor of his older brother, who addressed him in a solemn tone. So, Sasuke Uchiha of the Land of Fire, why do you want to meet with me? Thank you for seeing me, Lord Byakuya. I've come to see you because I need a sword that can kill a demon, and I've been told that the Kuchiki clan can provide me with such a weapon. Indeed, an unusual request. Please accompany me, Sasuke Uchiha. We have much to discuss.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.